I'm Landen Martin. I'm a quarterback from Strasburg High School. I'm a sophomore in class of 2020.
I'm Matthias Brown. I play offensive line. I'm from Strasburg High School, and I'm class of 2022.
And you're listening to the Playmakers Corner.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host for today, Simon Villanos, and we have some special guests, as in more than one, on this show for the first time interviewing together. Boys, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? So your name, what position you play, what year, graduating class you are, and then where you're from.
All right, so I'm Matthias Brown. I play right tackle, middle linebacker, and I'm also a long snapper for Strasburg High School, and I'll be graduating class of 2022.
I'm Landen Martin. I'm a quarterback free safety, class of 2024, and I go to Strasburg High School.
Boys, thank you for coming on to the show. We really appreciate it, man. As y'all know, I've done a lot of breakdowns on Strasburg players. Last year, I did 3 of y'all seniors. Y'all's a little big 3 over there, AJ, Colin, and Tristan Graff. Tristan obviously being our top 5 running back in the state as well. And so, it's always a good deal whenever I get Strasburg boys on and whatnot. It's always a good deal. So appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for giving us love.
Yeah, hey, absolutely, man. And hey, Landen, I wanted to ask you this question, man, because I noticed your last name is Martin. Are you by any chance related to a Connor Martin?
I am. That's my older brother.
Really? Dude, okay. I wanted to ask you off air, but I figured we might as well do it on the podcast. I know Connor, man. We actually worked together. I think it must have been his freshman year, but he was on event staff very briefly, and so we worked together there, and I definitely remember this dude, man, because I remember asking him like, "Yo, I know you're on the football team and whatnot, but like, where are you from?" And I think I don't know if he said Strasburg. He might have just been some small town out in Colorado. I'm like, all right, okay. And so that's actually really cool, man. Connor, he's a good dude. And, the last couple of years, me and my boys on the sidelines at football games have been yelling at the coaching staff to put him in. So that's awesome to hear, man. I honestly wasn't sure. Like, I remember looking through your Instagram and being like, man, this dude looks mad familiar. Man, that's a small world. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I hope we can see Con get some playtime this year. But, yeah, we watched him at Strasburg. He was who I watched growing up, so that was always a lot of fun.
Hey, absolutely. And for the listeners out there that don't know, Connor Martin, he's currently over at my alma mater. Actually, currently, everyone who works at the PMC has went to UNC at one point or another, except for Mason Austin. And so we're all very familiar with the Northern Colorado football team, Coach McCaffrey, and what they're doing over there. So that'll be really exciting. But all right, then. Well, just wanted to throw that out there, man. Just ask you. But let's kind of get into this thing. So these next 2 questions we ask every single guest, and so each of you could answer it at your own time and whatnot. But question number 1, so just wanted to ask y'all, obviously y'all are both athletes. Matthias, you are a senior, I believe, this year and whatnot, so you have a little bit more experience here. But either way, I just wanted to ask, what are y'all's favorite sports memories or a sport memory that you have that you participated in? So this is a sport memory that you were actively playing in a game or something like that. This could be in practice or in game or wherever, and it could be any sport on any level. So yeah, feel free to answer that.
I'll probably start it off here. Last basketball season, so my freshman year, I ended up, after a couple games into the season, being named a starter, which was pretty cool. And I think it was my second or third game in as the starter. We played against Resurrection Christian, who's always a really good Patriot League team. Always probably consensus top 3, and Coach Bowlers, who's our basketball coach, and our program has never won a game against Resurrection Christian in the regular season. So we came out, I had my highest scoring game of the season, and in a nail biter we beat Res, and I just remember the celebration post game, the talk Coach Bowlers gave us and all that. That's probably my favorite sports memory so far.
Okay. Yeah, we're very familiar with Resurrection Christian. Obviously, this episode hasn't come out yet. It will come out probably in an hour or 2 today, but we actually have Resurrection Christian up there for football as well, but they're always a good school. All right,
they got good athletes.
Oh, yeah, always. What about you, Matthias?
So mine's actually more recently. I'd have to say my favorite sports memory would be from this past football season, when we had gone down to La Harta to play Centauri, and I mean, we started off really slow. We weren't playing very well, and then our fourth quarter 21-point run just to end that season, just to end that game that way against Centauri, who I consider to be now probably one of our rivals. I probably have to say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're a good squad, man. Obviously, we talked about them on that 1A breakdown, but I was able to look through that game. That was a good one for sure. So, all right, then. I like it. All right, so the other question we ask our guests on the show is, what's your favorite, sport, fan / viewing experience? So you were a fan in the stands or on the sideline or at home, just watching a game or something like that, because we're just gonna go ahead and assume that y'all are some sports fans here. But what's your favorite sport fan experience?
I'd probably have to say mine was Super Bowl 50 when the Broncos won it. I've been a Broncos fan since I grew up. My dad was around the Broncos for a little bit, so it was kind of I was homegrown into being a Broncos fan. So watching them win the Super Bowl, Peyton Manning's one of my favorite players of all time. Watching him win it as he goes out, that was pretty cool.
Hey, that's a good one, man. If Cody was here, he would absolutely love that answer, because he's a diehard Broncos fan as well. But I totally get that one. That was a good one for sure. I enjoyed that, and I wasn't a Broncos fan, so understandable. What about you, Matthias?
For me, it's basically the same thing, other than not the same team. I'm a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, and watching them win the Super Bowl meant a lot to me, because we've always been not a very good franchise. We always sucked, and our fans are always gotten this bad rap, which is kind of understandable. Some of us are kind of outrageous, but winning the Super Bowl meant a lot, especially with backup Nick Foles going in there defeating Tom Brady.
Yeah, nah, I got you, man. All right, okay. I'm a Steelers fan, so I know all about Pennsylvania fans and whatnot for sure. But hey, that's another good one. Those are two classics, to be honest with you. So definitely get that. But let's talk about y'all's game though. So obviously, I haven't done breakdowns on both of y'all yet. Matthias, you've been on my radar for not over a year, but for about a year since I checked out Tristan Graff's film for the first time for sure. Landon, I have seen your name, but I haven't seen your film yet. And so, those breakdowns will for sure come this season. Y'all best believe. And, whenever they do, we'll talk about that another time. But just to talk about y'all's game just real quick, briefly here, so the listeners could understand y'all as players a little bit better. But what player or players do y'all model your game after? And this could be players on any level. It could be one player or multiple, but what's a player that you really look at and y'all are like, yeah, that's kind of who I am, that's kind of like my play style right there, or mental approach there?
For me, I'd have to go with the Seattle Seahawks linebacker, Bobby Wagner. He's kind of the reason why I chose to play as number 54. I've always loved him. He's always been an amazing linebacker, and so I try and play the way he plays. He's a little bit better than me, but I do definitely try and model my game after him.
Hey, I like that. That's a good answer. We haven't had that yet, and we've had a couple of linebackers come onto the show as well, so I like that. All right, then. What about you, Landon?
That one's kind of tough just because I'm still pretty young and kind of figuring out my own game as well. But one that my dad always compared Connor to the quarterback Jake Plummer, and he compares my game a lot to Connor's now. Jake Plummer was pretty smooth. He could make a lot of the throws, and he seemed kind of unfazed, and I like to think that's how I play the game.
Ooh, okay. That's a pretty unique comparison there, but it does make sense. So I see that. All right then. All right, so now that we talked about your game a little bit more, let's kind of transition here, right? So let's get to the meat of this interview, right? So I just want to keep it 100 with y'all. What was y'all's reaction to our breakdown of the 1A level? Be as honest as y'all want. Obviously we did not put y'all's look, we just didn't put y'all as a team in there because we were talking about, contenders and teams that we really felt like were surefire, like at least, make a deep run in. And Strasburg, y'all are a great program. I'll admit that first off, because I've been able to see it firsthand. Y'all are a fantastic program. I know Connor's team back in the day, they were pretty good as well, and so y'all have no problem replacing talent and going from there. And so there's definitely just the program that y'all are in right now, there's definitely a case for y'all to be a dark horse just because of the culture and the history y'all have. And so that's kind of our reasoning there. But y'all were missing a lot of players that are graduating, going on, doing better, bigger things. And so that's kind of why we didn't put y'all there. But let me digress though. Well, what was y'all's reaction to the 1A breakdown from last week? I believe that was episode 52.
The first thing I thought is it's got to be hard to try to break down a team when they're losing, four starting skill positions, and you don't know much about the guys that are coming up to replace them. So that just had to be tough in itself. But this year we've got some good dudes returning. So, I hope as the season goes on we can get that ranking up. But I don't put any blame on you guys just because it can't be easy to rank a team when you don't know what they got coming up. So I understood the ranking for sure. But okay. we got a lot of our entire line's returning besides our left guard, and the one we just had replacing is another senior. He's a stud. So having that starting line is awesome. Those guys are all great leaders, and I think we'll do good things again this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I don't know if we probably could have said this or, stayed on this topic a little bit longer in that 1A breakdown, but I want to say Cody might have mentioned it. I know he mentioned Matthias' name and was all like, yeah, he's a guy to look out for, but it was really brief. And I'd have to go back and listen because it may have been off air as well where we talked about it a little bit more. But, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So appreciate that. What about you, Matthias?
Just like Landon said, I totally get it. It's hard to be able to rank a team who basically has a whole new skill. But, our program has always been tough and gritty kids, so we'll go out there and we'll do everything we can to be successful this season. I know we'll be successful this season, but like we said, I totally understand why it'd be hard to rank us.
Yeah, absolutely. And even looking at y'all's schedule as well, y'all do kind of have one of the tougher, if not the toughest schedule in the state. But, there's nothing wrong with a trial by fire. That's how you get better, right? Having challenges and overcoming them. That's how football is, And so speaking of football and y'all's team here, let's talk about y'all's team, right? So obviously, the team will always be stronger than the individual, right? The team as a group, as a unit will always be stronger than the individual. But I wanted to ask your opinions on this, outside of y'all, obviously, because obviously if, y'all weren't big contributors to your team, I wouldn't have asked you onto the show or, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have. I'm just going to be completely 100 with y'all. But, I do consider y'all both key players on the squad. But outside of y'all, who are some players on this team that are must-know names, in your opinion, and why?
The first ones that come to mind for me are Zach Marrero. He's a running back and he's a safety this year. He's going into his junior year and he's been a starter since he was a freshman. He's a really good athlete and he's smooth, and he's kind of the same way where the lights don't shine too bright for him. So he's always going to be ready for the moment. So he's probably the first one that comes to mind. And then Caleb Hart, who's replacing Tristan's position. He's a really good athlete. He's super fast and explosive. He actually reminds a lot of people of Tristan, but those are probably the first two that come to mind for me. I don't know who it is for Matthias.
Okay. What position does Caleb play?
He plays running back as well.
Okay. That's right. You said that. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll keep that in mind. I'll have to probably get breakdowns of them done as well. Take a look at them. But what about you, Matthias? What are some must-know players on this squad?
Some of the other must-known players, I think, first one that comes to mind for me would be Talon Hall. He's a running back and outside linebacker. He's a great leader who's very vocal. He gives his all every play, and he's a great athlete, great leader. And then another person that comes to mind would have to be Keegan Tiffany. He plays receiver and outside linebacker. He's a very, I'd say, insane person. He definitely goes out there. He's going to hit you as hard as he can. He's very smart when he plays, and definitely when he comes to blocking, he'll get into you and make sure you get pushed back 5-10 yards.
I like how you described him as insane and whatnot. Yeah. But you need that on your squad. You need a dude who honestly doesn't care. He's gonna go put a whooping on somebody at any given time. So I like that though. I like that for sure. All right then. So all players that you gotta look out for, and you heard it here first. When Strasburg plays, these are players obviously besides the one that we have right here that you should be looking out for, and so that'll be big time for sure. All right then. So obviously, like I said, Strasburg has a great history. Their football program has always been pretty strong. Even through transition years and whatnot, they'll always put up a good fight and win a ton of games and do their thing, right? Unfortunately, last year, y'all came really close. Y'all went ahead and played Lyman, who we all know is a powerhouse. Obviously they have Corey Taha, who's over at CSU right now. But even now, they still have a lot of returning players. And, that was a tough way to end that season. We'll leave it there. It's just a tough way to end that season. Arguably up to that point, there weren't many games to kind of prep y'all for that outside of the playoffs, I would say. And so there was a lot of pressure on y'all right off the bat. And so, we'll kind of leave that in the past here and talk about this year, right? Because, obviously AJ, Colin, Tristan, I'm sure they're all great guys and they were fantastic players as well, but they're not here anymore, right? This is y'all's team now. This is a new season and it's a new year, hopefully a more normal year, and so that should change things for a lot of teams here. But with that being said, obviously every team at the beginning of the season kind of believes we're a team that could make some noise. We're a contender and whatnot. And obviously y'all's team was right there last year. You were right there. And so for y'all to at least not make a run would be a little blasphemous. I'll be honest with you. And so with that being said, I want each of y'all to, kind of put in your 2 cents here, however way you want, but give us a case for why you believe Strasburg will be a strong team this year and probably even a contender.
I'll go ahead and start. One thing I've always said about playing football and growing up in Strasburg is there's such a rich football culture. I mean, every Friday night, half the town packs into our little stadium. There's kids running around playing games on one side of the field, looking to the left and seeing the older guys that they dream of being one day. And that really, at least for me, and I know for Matthias and probably a bunch of other kids on our team, it gives a kid when they're little a goal or something to reach for, something to work for. And, our high school coaches get pretty involved at an early age. We have a great coaching system all the way through youth and middle school up to high school. So, that type of stuff, it helps a lot with, when you lose a good graduating class, you're always going to have a bunch of young talent coming up in the pipeline just because everyone loves football. Everyone wants to be a good football player in this town. And other than that, I'd say Strasburg's always really well coached. I got a bunch of admiration for Coach Brown. He's probably the smartest football mind I've ever been around, so it's hard to feel a lack of confidence when you're playing for someone like him. And again, with this senior line, those guys are all big and strong. It's comforting knowing that you have them kind of paving the way for you in your offense. And then those same guys are over on the other side of the ball on the D-line. And, that's a good, those are good building blocks to have, good things to be able to build off of. So our DB's coach, our receivers, running backs, quarterbacks coach can help us build off of that. But that starting offensive line, I think, is going to be huge for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can never go wrong with having a good line. It allows y'all arguably to have room to grow and make a couple more mistakes here to grow and whatnot. And so that's definitely something that you can't just not acknowledge at all. So I get that. What about you, Matthias?
So I'd have to say that our culture here in Strasburg is everybody from a young age, all they want to do is come up and be that great football player. All they want to do is play football. And like Landon said, during games, they'd always look over, they'd be playing football and then look over and looking up at us. It's what we used to do. But, kids out here, all they want to do is just play football, and they're going to do whatever it takes to succeed at football and do whatever it would take to get up to the next level. We've always had great coaching staff. Even before Landon got here, I was coached by Jeff Geiger, who's now at Erie. He's an amazing coach, one of the best defensive minds I've ever known. He's a great guy, and even now with our coaching staff, we have great coaches, great O-line coach, great receivers coach, running backs coach across the whole entire line. But just here in Strasburg, small town, everybody just wants to be that guy for football, and everyone's willing to do whatever it takes to be that special football player and go ahead and start winning games.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And you know what? I love that. I love the small town kind of idea. Like, this is football, right? This is why we love football, because we grew up with it. This is what our small town's about. I think that's something that obviously, you see it in the movies and TV shows, right? And it's definitely dramatized to a degree, but like as well, this is reality for y'all. This is where y'all grow up. This is your hometown, and it's something to be proud of as well as this program. And so that's fantastic to hear. And I mean, y'all already know I was gonna be rooting for y'all anyways and keeping an eye on y'all, but we'll for sure still be doing that and hopefully make it out to a game. I'd like to see that atmosphere, on those Friday nights or whatnot, for sure. That'd be a really fun deal to get to if possible. So yeah.
For sure. Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So appreciate y'all giving me y'all's case for why Strasburg will be a strong team this year. I have no doubts about that. Y'all will definitely give some teams some struggles, and I don't know if I said this on air in that 1A breakdown, but with y'all's strong culture over there, I think most teams know that. But also with y'all graduating so many players, for a lot of teams that are going to go over there and play you, or y'all are going to go over to wherever they're at and play them, it might be a trap game for them when they go play Strasburg. Just being honest, that might be a game they look at and they're like, this is a game we should win, right? And then y'all go in there and, football is football. When you hit the field, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just you and them. And so you got to make it happen right there. And so that'll be really interesting to see kind of how that goes on, because it could be a rude awakening for a lot of teams real quick here, for sure. Because, you can never go wrong with a strong culture and a strong line. You got to win something, right, with that, and significantly at that. So that's really good to hear. But kind of transitioning here, so we obviously interviewed Miles Sprague last week, and this is something that we've been kind of wanting to ask more athletes here in Colorado, because Colorado, or aka the box state, if you want to call it that, is not exactly known to be a football state. There are some other things it's probably more known for, but it has a lot of potential there. There's good football all around on the 1A level even. You see so much passion in a lot of these small towns and small schools, and there's some good football for sure. But I kind of just wanted to ask y'all, in y'all's opinion, what are some things that could get Colorado to the level where they're considered to be a football state? Like, when I think of Colorado, they're like the football state of the Rockies. But what are some things that y'all feel like could get Colorado there?
I mean, exposure is probably always going to be the biggest thing. Those athletes from California, Texas, Florida always get a bunch of exposure, whether it's on social media or national TV or whatever it is. But I mean, I think it's starting to trend that way a little bit. Like, just the type of stuff you guys are doing, I think, is really cool for Colorado athletes. And then Kevin Schaefer as well with his Colorado Preps. He does a lot for Colorado athletes. But the more and more exposure that Colorado athletes can get, I think, is because we've got a bunch of good athletes. I've been able to see, I mean, even at the 1A level, watching my older brothers, watching last year and being able to see this year, Corey Taha, Jay Leaper, people like that who are obviously going to go on and play college football. I mean, there's some really good athletes all across the state. So, I mean, just more exposure is probably the number one thing.
Okay, fair enough. Matthias, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree. Just exposure is the big thing. 'Cause, I mean, when you're in California, Texas, Florida, they have recruits going to every single game. They have all the hype around them. So exposure is definitely the number one thing. But like he said, what you guys are doing, that's huge for Colorado athletes.
Hey, man, and we appreciate that. We appreciate those kind words for sure, man. And we love to do it. That's why we are doing it. Obviously, last year, it was a pandemic year. That's kind of where we first had the idea to put on athletes because it was harder than ever to get that exposure. But, kind of our mission right now is to help Colorado get there. And, by interviewing y'all and especially athletes from smaller cities because, everyone knows like the Cherry Creeks, Valors, right? Because the McCaffreys went there and whatnot. But, it's the smaller schools that matter as well. They're the base of football, I at least think. And, if we could elevate that, then the rest will come as well. And so that's kind of a big deal here. So we definitely appreciate that for sure. But, kind of talking a little bit more about football here in Colorado, man. Matthias, you could probably have a little bit more to say here than Landon. But, obviously both of you are welcome to answer this question. But what's some advice that you would give to high school athletes making their way through high school, middle school, whatever, aspiring to go on to that next level, and this could be advice for really anything, for football or for academics or for recruiting, Matthias, if that's something that you want to talk about as well. But what's some advice that you give to some high school athletes here?
Some advice I'd give is my number one thing is to always keep going, never give up. That's the number one thing, because if you give up, then it's over. Another thing I'd have to say is that if you aspire for something like I aspire to go play college football, that's my dream is to go play college football. You gotta get your name out there somehow. So I mean, I've gone to camps. I've obviously been talking to you guys. However I can get my name out there is what I'm going to be able to do. And that's some other advice I'd give is you're gonna always have haters, or you're gonna have doubters that'll always try and pull you down, tell you that you're not going to make it, you're not good enough, and all you got to do is just prove them wrong. Go out there, show how good you are, and show how much you care to make that next step.
Big facts. Spoken like a true veteran. Spoken like a true veteran of the squad. I like that. All right then, man. Landon, what about you? I know, you're kind of a younger quarterback here, but what are some things that you would tell either your younger self or like maybe some middle schoolers, elementary schoolers over at Strasburg? Some advice you'd give them about football and just being an athlete, student athlete.
I would say a big thing is just kind of prioritizing. Like, a lot of kids going into high school don't know what position they want to play or what role they're going to play. And that was kind of it for me last year. I knew we had Colin returning, so I wasn't going to get any PT at quarterback. So before the season started, I was kind of looking around, seeing if I could fit in at receiver or what I could do. And I just realized that there were so many great senior athletes there that it was going to be kind of hard to get on the field. I got in a little bit on defense towards the end of the year, but so it was I was pretty quick to kind of realize my role was going to have to be to sit back and learn for a year, and how much that would help me going into this year when I have to step up. And I would just say that you need to find your priorities, really, and after that you can help yourself find a role. And that was the biggest thing for me coming into high school.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man, and that's actually really good advice. Some athletes could definitely take that in mind and whatnot moving forward for sure. It's definitely a hard thing. You kind of gotta be humble with yourself and real with yourself to be like, all right, what's my role with this team? This year, and then you could think about it. What could be your role with this team next year and do what's best for you, right? And so that's definitely a great thing to keep in mind and some good advice there. So yeah, but now that we're kind of wrapping up this interview here, I wanted to give y'all a chance for each of y'all to kind of just shout out, players, friends, families, coaches, whoever that has been really important to y'all's academic and athletic career that you like to shout out and thank on this show? And, feel free to take as long as y'all want with this one.
Ooh, that's pretty tough. Probably the first one that comes to mind is anyone that coached me in youth sports, whether it's football or basketball. I mean, I get help from basketball in my football game, helping me with my quick twitch explosiveness and stuff like that. And football helps me in basketball. It just makes me a better thinker and stuff like that. So both coaches, everything I've learned from them, that's probably helped me a little bit more than they all know. But other than that, I got a good buddy named Colton Hall, and his dad, Jason Hall, was my coach growing up all the way. I mean, since I was 8, since I could remember playing football. So Jason Hall and Colton Hall are probably two that come to mind for me. And Talon Hall is also Colton's brother, and he's our starting running back this year. So that whole family's been huge for me with my whole athletic career. And then another one that comes to mind is probably just my dad. He's I mean, whether he's hard on me, whether it's kind of a moment after a game that I lose, he's always pushed me and given me a lot of good insight on, post game, what could we have done better, why did we lose, and I feel like it's made me a lot smarter of an athlete and helped me for the high school level to take some criticism, because you need to be able to do that. So I'd say that's definitely a good part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I love that you shouted out all those people as well. That's always great to hear. So yeah. But go ahead, Matthias. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead, Matthias.
So for me, my number one definitely have to be my dad. He's coached me ever since I was little. He's our head coach now, and he's taught me everything I know about football. Every step of the way, he's always taught me how to properly tackle, how to block. I mean, he played college football, so I aspire to be just like him. Another person I have to actually shout out would be last year's AJ Hemphill. I mean, he was one of the best middle linebackers I ever got to play with. I absolutely loved him. He was like Keegan. He was insane. He just knew he had to go 100% every single time. I've learned a lot from him. And then the last person would actually have to be my good buddy Wilson Ames, his mom Mercy. She is the girls basketball coach here, but she pushes everybody and she wants the best for everybody. She's taught me so much when it comes to basketball, which has also helped me when it comes to football. She's a fantastic person and definitely wants the best for everybody. So those would be my top 3.
And then Simon, I did have one more I kind of forgot about. It would be just both my older brothers, Mitchell and Connor. They both went to Strasburg. I grew up watching both of them play, and Mitchell ended up playing quarterback at the University of Sioux Falls, which is in South Dakota, and he just graduated. And Connor, you know him, he's playing at UNC right now, battling for that number 1 spot. But both of them, I mean, obviously just being older brothers is helpful enough. And then what they've done, they coached my youth basketball teams as well, and just being able to watch what they did as athletes. Connor was a year younger than Mitch, so when Mitch graduated, Mitch had a great 4-year career. Connor stepped in as a senior, and his first year as a starter, they won the state championship, and that's something that's kind of stuck with me all throughout my athletic career. Was just thinking, it's never too late to do something great. So I wouldn't be able to have the right mindset, I don't think, without both my older brothers.
Yeah, man, absolutely, and I love that. Well, first off, Matthias, love all of your shout-outs as well. Before I forget, because I want to talk about Landon's thing here as well. Did he get offered to play on the next level? Is he at a college right now?
Yeah, so him and Colin are both playing at Ottawa University, which is an NAIA school in Kansas. AJ went on as a linebacker, and Colin's there as a quarterback right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Ottawa, so that's actually really great to hear, man. Low key Ottawa. There's enough players from Colorado that I've went there from this last year. Between players that Cody and I have breaking down, that is kind of an interesting school. We want to make a trip out there. We don't know if we will because we're prioritizing Colorado football first, but that's definitely one to keep out. But yeah, no, that's awesome to hear. And then What you said, Landon, absolutely love that. Actually didn't know that about Connor, man. Like, I knew he was a good quarterback because obviously I've seen the dude throw. I've seen him, get in at the end of games. And is this time to throw shade? Yeah, whatever. I'll throw shade. He was better than Jacob Nip, in my opinion. And I know this because I watched that dude basically stay at UNC for like 8 years. And yeah, I felt like personally Connor was better than him. And, I also know one of the high school teammates of Jacob Nib because he's part of this podcast as well. And so, obviously wishing Connor all the best of luck. That's really awesome to hear about his story. Loki might have to go back and check that out and, maybe do a little breakdown on that, just for fun and whatnot. But obviously, wishing the best to Connor. For those of you who don't know, for the listeners who don't know, who aren't tuned in to Colorado football, he is currently at the University of Northern Colorado. The other quarterback up there is Dylan McCaffrey, who was a former 5-star, was a star over at Valor Christian, went to Michigan, didn't really work out, came back, and now he's with, his dad, Coach McCaffrey, over at Northern Colorado. But by all means, from what I hear, it's a lot closer than, most people would expect for sure. I know McCaffrey is kind of the bigger name, but I'm just gonna be real. UNC, we want to win, so we gotta go with the best bet there. And I don't know if Connor has that much more time left, and so he might have actually as much time as Dylan at this point.
Yeah, they're the same year.
Okay, that makes it even more interesting. Okay. Well, I love that for sure. Okay, well, hey, just saying this right now, best of luck to both of those guys. Obviously, would love for a small-town Colorado quarterback to take over a D1 school. What a heck of a story that would be. That'd be big time for sure. So love that. But all right, Landon, Matthias, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, man. Like I said, we want to put on more small schools like Strasburg, and obviously y'all have a great program. Wishing y'all the best of luck this season. We'll for sure be keeping an eye out. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that will wrap up this interview of the Playmakers Corner podcast. Go ahead and show us some love on all of our social medias. That's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I know we've been kind of lazy putting up content there, but we will. We'll get it caught up soon enough. But thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.